In boxing, every so often a matchup comes along that feels more like a collision of worlds than just a fight. Not because it makes perfect sense on paper, but because it captures the imagination. And that's exactly what we have here. On one side, Gervonta Tank Davis, a pound-for-pound superstar, a knockout artist who's undefeated, feared and widely regarded as one of the most explosive fighters of his generation. On the other, Jake Paul, the YouTuber turned boxer, the disruptor, the man who went from Disney Channel and viral planks to headlining arenas and selling pay-per-views. Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. It's part fantasy, part reality. One is a natural lightweight who destroys men at 135 pounds. The other, a natural cruiserweight walking around at 200. On paper, the size difference makes it look absurd. But in the boxing world we live in, the world of crossover fights, Netflix exhibitions, and global streaming audiences, this fight is not only possible, it's happening. And whether you love it or hate it, it demands a breakdown. So today we're diving deep. The styles, the numbers, the psychology, the hype, and the fantasy version, where Tank and Jake are the same size. Who wins? Who loses? And what does it all mean for boxing's future? To understand what makes this matchup fascinating, we need to start with Tank Davis. Born and raised in Baltimore, Tank's life was marked by struggle from the start. Poverty, violence, a neighborhood that swallowed many before they even had a chance. But like so many greats before him, boxing became his way out. Under the guidance of Coach Calvin Ford, a man whose story inspired the character Cuddy in HBO's The Wire, Tank transformed from a troubled kid into a generational talent. His nickname, Tank, wasn't just for show. From the moment he hit the pros, Davis was dropping opponents with frightening regularity. Short, compact, explosive. He's built like a coil of dynamite. At 5'5", with a 67-inch reach, Davis looks undersized next to most fighters. But once the bell rings, size doesn't matter. Timing, power, precision, that's his world. He captured his first world title at just 22 years old, stopping Jose Pedraza. From there, it was highlight after highlight. A 12th-round knockout of Yuriorkis Gamboa, a brutal uppercut that put Leo Santa Cruz to sleep, a masterclass against Ryan Garcia where he broke him down and finished him with a body shot heard around the world. Tank isn't just undefeated, he's dominant. He doesn't just win fights, he ends them. And now he's stepping way outside his weight class, chasing the kind of crossover event that could define his mainstream appeal forever. Now let's flip the script. Jake Paul is not supposed to be here. At least, that's what traditional boxing fans say. He started as a YouTuber, then became a social media star, then an actor, and in 2020, when the world was shut down, he started fighting professionally. At first, people laughed. He beat another YouTuber, then a retired NBA player, then a lineup of ex-MMA fighters who weren't known for their striking. But with each fight, Jake got better. His jab sharpened. His conditioning improved. He proved he could go rounds. And eventually, he did the unthinkable. He went toe-to-toe with real, active boxers. His win over former MMA champ Tyrone Woodley, capped by a thunderous knockout, made people stop laughing. His split-second loss to Tommy Fury, an actual pro boxer, showed his ceiling. But instead of fading away, he doubled down. Jake Paul now trains like a professional. He spars real fighters. He works with high-level coaches. He's fought in front of massive arenas, under the brightest lights, and he's built himself into a legitimate cruiserweight contender, at least at the entry level. What makes Jake Paul dangerous isn't just his size or his right hand. It's his ability to rise to the occasion. He thrives under pressure, he loves the spotlight, and he's built an empire on being underestimated. So when Jake Paul looks across the ring at Gervonta Davis, he won't see an unbeatable god. He'll see another chance to shock the world. Let's break down the tale of the tape. Gervonta Davis, height 5'5", reach 67 inches. Weight 135 to 140 pounds, natural lightweight, super lightweight. Record 29-0, 27 KOs. Jake Paul, height 6'1", reach 76 inches. Weight 190 to 200 pounds, natural cruiserweight. Record 9-1, 6 KOs. The difference is massive. Jake is taller, longer, and naturally heavier by at least 50 pounds on fight night. In a real exhibition, this is the factor everyone talks about. But in the fantasy version, where they're the same size, that weight disappears, leaving us with a pure battle of skill, IQ, and style. And that's where things get really interesting. Tank Davis is a pressure counterpuncher. He doesn't rush in reckless. He stalks. He measures. He waits for you to overcommit. Then, bang, he lands the shot you never saw coming. His power is sudden, violent, and fight-ending. Few men can carry that power late into fights the way Tank does. Jake Paul, by contrast, is a boxer-puncher. He's not particularly fast, but he's disciplined. He fights behind his jab. He sets up his right hand. He uses his size to lean, to clinch, to wear you down. The question is simple. Can Jake's fundamentals and size survive Tank's storm? Or does Tank's explosiveness cut through the weight gap like it doesn't exist? Boxing is as much mental as it is physical. Tank Davis thrives on intimidation. He's not loud, not brash, not over the top. He's calm, cold. And once he starts landing, opponents feel helpless. Ryan Garcia said it best. He makes you second guess every move. Jake Paul, however, thrives on the opposite. He feeds on doubt. Every time critics say he can't, he does. Every time he's booed, he swings harder. His psychological weapon isn't fear, it's audacity. When they meet, the question will be, who bends first? The fighter used to controlling everything in the ring, or the fighter who thrives when everything seems impossible? Tank Davis, strengths, explosive knockout power, elite timing and counters, composure under pressure. Tank Davis, weaknesses, small size compared to Jake, sometimes starts slow, relies on breaking opponents mentally. Jake Paul, strengths, size, reach, and strength, solid fundamentals for his experience, conditioning and toughness. Jake Paul, weaknesses, inexperience compared to elite boxers, defensive lapses, limited adaptability. Keys to victory. For Tank, the path is clear. Close the distance, slip inside Jake's jab, and punish him with speed and explosiveness. He can't let Jake use size to smother him. For Jake, the key is control. Jab, move, clinch, lean. Make Tank fight uphill every second. If he can drag it deep into the fight, he could test Tank in ways no lightweight ever has. Fights like this aren't new. Boxing has a long history of spectacle. Ali vs. Inoki in 1976, Mayweather vs. McGregor in 2017, even exhibitions like Tyson vs. Roy Jones Jr. in 2020. Every generation has its circus fight, the matchup that critics say devalues the sport, but fans can't look away from. And here we are again, Tank vs. Paul, a fight that makes no sense, but all the sense in the world. Now, let's imagine the fantasy version. Same weight, same size. Round 1, Jake comes out behind the jab. Tank is patient, crouching low, slipping, watching. Paul lands some jabs, maybe even a right hand, but nothing clean. Tank studies. Round 3, Tank begins closing the gap. He slips inside, rips to the body. Jake starts to feel the speed difference. The crowd feels the momentum shift. Round 6, Tank lands a counter left that snaps Paul's head back. The smaller man's power translates perfectly at equal weight. Paul backs up, covering up. Tank smells blood. Round 8, the finish comes. A brutal uppercut, a left hook. Paul goes down. He tries to beat the count, but the ref waves it off. Tank by knockout. Could Paul win in this fantasy? Sure, if his jab, size, and toughness held up, maybe he outpoints Tank. But history says otherwise. Tank has faced bigger men before. Every time, his explosiveness makes the difference. Now let's switch gears. In reality, Jake Paul is 190 pounds, and Gervonta Davis is 135. In a real fight, this is the question. Can Tank's power overcome the size gap? Because Jake won't just be bigger. He'll be stronger, longer, and naturally heavier. One punch from a cruiserweight feels different. But Jake has never faced anyone with Tank's speed, timing, or IQ. He's never been in with someone who can end a fight in one split-second opening. That's why this fight works as entertainment. Jake has the size, Tank has the skill. One mistake either way, and the narrative flips. For Jake Paul, this fight is win-win. If he loses, so what? He lost one of the best fighters alive. If he wins, or even goes the distance, it cements him as more than a sideshow. For Tank Davis, the risk is higher. A loss, even against a bigger man, would be used against him forever. A win? Critics might shrug it off as expected. That's the paradox. Jake can win just by showing up. Tank must win dominantly. So, who wins? If size matters most, Jake Paul smothers Tank with his jab, leans on him, and maybe drags him into deep water. But if skill and explosiveness rule the night, Tank Davis will find the opening, land the shot, and remind everyone why he's one of the best fighters on earth. Either way, the fight is more than a matchup. It's a cultural moment. It's the collision of new media and old-school boxing, of spectacle and skill, of YouTube and world championship belts. And when that first bell rings, the debates won't matter anymore. Two men will be in the ring, and only one will leave with the world talking. So, fight fans, what do you think? Does Jake Paul's size give him the edge? Or does Gervonta Tank Davis prove that skill and precision beat everything? Drop your predictions in the comments. Smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive breakdowns into boxing's biggest legends, matchups, and spectacles. Because in the end, this is why we love boxing. The debate, the drama, and the dream matchups that keep us talking long after the final bell.